Hi, Emily. Thanks so much for joining me here. When I was at COP15, I had to sit down and listen a lot. And with attention deficit, it was hard, so I wandered around to take breaks, talking to people at booths and looking for pins. I found yours, and there were all these fun, cool people. I got pins and toque hat. Uh, what was your favorite part of COP15?
Probably something similar. So I think the best part for me was just meeting activists every day from countries around the globe that I've never been to and seeing the kind of level of support from people of all generations. So there were elementary school students, there were high school students, there were university students, so many young voices. And every day I met someone who told me about something they're doing or a new movement or a new idea to solve the climate crisis or the biodiversity crisis that was just amazing, and it gave me so much hope. So that was definitely the best part.
Yeah. You founded Stop Ecocide Toronto and became the youth ambassador and communications director for Stop Ecocide Canada. What is Ecocide anyway?
Yeah, good question. A lot of people kind of stop when they hear the term ecocide and ask what it is, because you can get a little bit of a sense, but it's not something you hear every day. So ecocide means massive environmental destruction. It talks about kind of the worst forms of destroying nature and destroying ecosystems. So thinking things like massively polluting an entire town's water supply or destroying a really important ecosystem that can't be replicated, that has endangered species, those kinds of things. And right now, it's not illegal in most of the world, which is really crazy when you think about it, because the worst kinds of destroying the environment are just perfectly legal under our criminal laws. So what the Stop Ecocide movement does is advocate to change that. We want to make ecocide a crime, to protect the planet.
Yeah. Um, Last July, the UN General Assembly already recognized the universal right to a clean and healthy, sustainable environment. It feels like the time to stop ecocide has finally arrived, doesn't it?
Yeah, I agree. It does. Um, People around the globe, and particularly young people, are kind of waking up to the fact that future generations and young generations have a right to live in a world that is sustainable and that has beautiful ecosystems that are thriving. And that has really helped the Stop Ecocide movement a lot. We were founded in 2017, but in the past 2 years, we've grown a ton. There are people who are calling for ecocide law in countries around the world, and governments are starting to talk about it a lot more. So one state in particular, one government has really been excited about it and has been really public about calling for it, and that's Vanuatu, which is a country that most people haven't heard of, but they're just these amazing climate champions, and they've brought it onto the international stage. And so now ecocide is being talked about at international conferences. So we met at COP15, it was being talked about there. Um, and it's definitely an amazing moment to be in the Stop Ecocide movement, because people are starting to realize that this idea's time is now.
Yeah. Right now, the International Criminal Court lists four crimes: genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes, and crimes of aggression. You want to add ecocide. This means that CEOs who are willing to destroy our world could now actually go to jail. Will this make people think twice about committing these crimes?
I think so. So yeah, as you said, Stop Ecocide wants to make ecocide an international crime. And when countries sign on, we could also make that a crime in countries' legal systems around the world. And I think this would make people really consider environmental destruction more carefully. So when you're a politician or when you're a CEO and you're thinking about how you're treating the environment, when you're considering damaging a really important ecosystem, right now your company can get fined, but there's not a lot that happens to you individually. So you can do it without a lot of repercussions. But if ecocide was a crime, people would have kind of an individual incentive. They could go to jail. And that would really make people think twice, because it's for their benefit. They don't destroy the environment in a really terrible way. And that means that people would be more cautious. They would treat the environment in a more respectful and a safer way, and just a more positive way overall. So I really do think it would change the way people treat nature.
As a kid, it feels like everything is taking so long. How far along in this process? are you?
I agree with you there. Leaders promise change and then it takes years for anything to happen a lot of the time, and it feels like everything drags. So it is a pretty long timeline for Stop Ecocide to implement an international crime. We think that it'll probably take 5 years for the entire process to go through, because there's a lot of steps that would go into making it an international crime and then a crime in countries around the world. In the end, we would need 2/3 of the countries that are part of the international court to sign on. So that's 82 countries. But I think the thing that gives me a lot of hope is that even if it takes 5 years to make ecocide an international crime, even before this process is finished, ecocide law can make change. Because once a law is even proposed, once we start talking about it, high-level decision makers will start to know that the law is coming. And I think that's when they start to really change their behaviors. They'll start adapting the way they make business decisions or political decisions, and they'll start treating nature in a safer way, in a more positive way, because they know that they don't want to go to jail when it does become a crime. And so they already want to have the better practices.
Yeah. And they don't want to go to jail, so don't do it.
Yeah, exactly.
What can kids do to help?
Yeah, I always love this question because it's something that it has a lot of power, and there are a ton of answers. I mean, anybody has their own skill set that they can kind of add to the conversation. But I think the first thing is just to learn more about ecocide law and about the Stop Ecocide movement. There's a lot of power in just having knowledge of the issue and being able to talk about it. I think once you know about it, you can tell classmates, teammates, teachers, family members. And young voices have so much power in environmental decision making because young generations are the most impacted. So learning about it is the first and the biggest thing, probably. I think the second thing, especially for people who are already involved, so kids like you who are doing initiatives in their own lives, who are posting on social media, posting on YouTube, who are in clubs about the environment, you guys can use the term ecocide when you see examples of really big environmental destruction. And that's really powerful because it just spreads the word, and it makes ecocide a term that people can use in their everyday life.
Yeah. Thanks so much for joining me. Click the link below to add your name to Stop Ecocide petition and Earth Protector. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Bye.